The day my world fell apart started with a letter. My husband Marcus wanted to end our marriage. He told the judge I was a terrible mom and a bad wife. He said he should get everything we owned, including our house and our little girl. But then, something nobody expected happened. My daughter Emma, who is 7 years old, stood up in the courtroom. Her voice was small but clear. "Judge, can I show everyone something? My mom doesn't know about this." The judge looked surprised but said yes. Emma walked forward holding her pink phone. She pressed a button, and a video started playing on the big screen. Everyone in the room stopped moving. They just stared. Before I tell you what happened next, please write in the comments which country or city you're watching from. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Trending Revenge Stories so we can share more amazing stories with you. That morning felt like every other morning in our home. I woke up early, before the sun came up. I was dressed in my old comfortable clothes and started cooking breakfast. The smell of pancakes filled our kitchen. The washing machine made its usual spinning sound from the corner. I moved around quietly, trying not to make noise. After many years, I learned that Marcus didn't like loud sounds in the morning. He wanted everything peaceful and quiet when he woke up. At 6 in the morning, Marcus came down the stairs. He looked perfect in his business suit. His hair was neat, and his shoes were shiny. I quickly put his coffee on the table, exactly how he liked it. I also placed his breakfast plate right in front of his chair. Marcus sat down and picked up the coffee cup. He didn't look at me or say good morning. "This coffee tastes wrong," he said without looking up from his phone. "I'm so sorry, honey. I tried my best to make it right," I answered quietly. Marcus didn't say anything back. He just pushed his plate away a little bit and ate a few bites. I stood near the table, waiting to see if he needed anything else. He didn't ask for anything. The quiet between us felt heavy and cold. I couldn't remember the last time we laughed together during breakfast. Maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago. That's when Marcus started coming home really late from work. He said he had important business trips that took him away for days. "Is Emma awake yet?" Marcus asked, still looking at his phone. "Yes, she's taking a shower. She'll come down soon for breakfast," I told him. A few seconds later, we heard small footsteps running down the stairs. Emma appeared in her school uniform. Her smile was so bright and happy, so different from the sad feeling in our kitchen. "Good morning, Mommy and Daddy," Emma said cheerfully. She gave me a kiss on my cheek and then ran to Marcus. He finally looked up from his phone and smiled a tiny bit at our daughter. "Good morning, my princess. Eat your breakfast quickly, and Daddy will drive you to school today," Marcus said.
Yay.
"I get to ride with Daddy." Emma jumped up and down with excitement. I felt a little bit better hearing this. At least Marcus tried to be nice when Emma was around. This short time during breakfast was the only moment our family felt normal. When Emma finished eating, Marcus stood up right away. He grabbed his work bag, kissed Emma on her head, and walked toward the front door. Like always, he walked past me as if I wasn't even there. No goodbye, no kiss, not even a look. I just heard his car start and drive away. That left me alone in our big, quiet house. I spent the rest of the morning doing my usual work, cleaning the dishes, washing clothes, and making everything neat and tidy. I did everything quickly and carefully. I worked hard to keep our house looking perfect. I thought if the house was clean enough and the food was good enough, maybe Marcus would be happy again. Maybe he would be nice to me like he used to be. But that Marcus from long ago seemed to have disappeared forever. Around noon, I went to pick up Emma from school. This was my favorite part of the day. I loved hearing Emma talk about her friends, her art class, and what she ate for lunch. "Mommy, today my teacher gave me 6 gold stars because I answered all the math questions right," Emma said happily, holding my hand tight. "Wow, my smart girl. I'm so proud of you," I said, gently touching her nose. When we got home, I was helping Emma take off her school shoes when I heard a loud motorcycle sound outside our door. A delivery man in a uniform called my name loudly. "Package for you, ma'am." I felt confused. I hadn't ordered anything from any store. I walked to the front door and took a big brown envelope from the delivery man. There was no name showing who sent it. I only saw a logo from a lawyer's office in the corner. My heart started beating fast and hard. "Who was that, Mommy?" Emma asked, standing behind me. "I don't know, sweetie. It's probably just junk mail. Go change your clothes and then we'll have lunch together," I said, trying to sound normal and calm. After Emma ran upstairs to her room, I sat down on our living room couch. My hands were shaking as I opened the envelope. Inside were many papers stapled together. When I read the first sentence at the top, I felt like I couldn't breathe. It said, "Request for divorce." My whole world felt like it stopped spinning. My ears started ringing with a strange sound. I read those words again and again, hoping I was seeing things wrong. The paper said, "Person asking for divorce, Marcus." Person being asked me. Reason given. The wife has completely failed at being a good wife. I felt sick to my stomach. Failed? I had given up everything for this house and this family. I stopped working at my job because Marcus asked me to stay home. I took care of Emma every single day. I made sure Marcus always had clean, ironed shirts every morning. What did he mean I failed? I kept reading the next pages. My eyes got blurry with tears as I read what Marcus was demanding. His demands were so mean and cruel. Marcus wasn't just asking to end our marriage. He was also asking to take Emma away from me completely. He said I was too emotional and couldn't raise Emma properly. And the worst part of all was that he wanted to take everything we owned, including the house we lived in. He said I didn't help earn money, so everything belonged only to him because he worked. I fell down onto the hard wooden floor. All the papers scattered around me everywhere. So this was why Marcus had been so cold and mean for all these months. He had been planning this secretly behind my back the whole time. The front door suddenly opened. Marcus had come home from work much earlier than usual. He stood in the doorway, looking at me sitting on the floor, then looking at all the papers scattered everywhere. His face showed no guilt or sadness at all. "Marcus, what is this? What does all this mean?" My voice was shaking and tears started falling from my eyes. Marcus took off his shoes without saying anything. He walked over and loosened his tie. He didn't deny anything or try to explain. He just said in a cold, hard voice, "It means exactly what you read. I don't want to be married to you anymore. You've failed at everything. You failed as my wife, and you failed as Emma's mother." Failed. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I've taken care of this entire house and raised Emma every single day. Taking care of the house? Marcus laughed in a mean way. "The only thing you've done is spend all my money. Emma needs a better mom than you. She needs someone who is smart and capable, not someone who just cries and complains all day long like you do. But you can't take everything away from me. You can't take this house, and you can't take Emma. Please, Marcus." I started screaming and crying. Marcus bent down and looked at me with cold, angry eyes I had never seen before. "I can, and I will take everything. My lawyer has collected all the proof we need. You won't get a single dollar. You'll leave this house with absolutely nothing." Marcus stood up and straightened his jacket. He looked toward the stairs to make sure Emma couldn't hear us talking. "And get ready for this." Marcus smiled in a scary, evil way that made my blood feel cold. "My lawyer told me that even your own daughter will tell the judge in court how terrible you are as a mother." I froze in complete shock. My heart felt like it broke into a million pieces. Marcus didn't just want to divorce me. He wanted to completely destroy me and take away everything I loved. I couldn't sleep at all that night. After our terrible fight, Marcus went to sleep in the guest bedroom and locked the door like I was dangerous. I spent the whole night in Emma's bedroom, sitting in the chair next to her bed. I watched my daughter's peaceful, sleeping face. My tears wouldn't stop falling down my cheeks. How could Marcus say that Emma would speak against me in court? Emma was everything to me. She was my whole world. What lies had he been telling my little girl? That thought hurt me more than anything else he said. The next morning, Marcus acted like nothing bad had happened. He woke Emma up, helped her get dressed in her uniform, and drove her to school. He didn't speak even one word to me. When Emma asked why my eyes looked red and puffy, Marcus answered without caring, "Mommy isn't feeling well today, princess." After they left, real terror filled my whole body. I had to fight back. I couldn't just give up on Emma without trying. I grabbed my phone and searched for the names of good divorce lawyers in our city. But harsh reality hit me hard and fast. Lawyers needed money for their services. They needed payment just to talk to you. I realized something horrible. I had no money at all. For all these years, Marcus only gave me a small amount of money each month. That money was just enough to buy groceries and pay for Emma's school supplies. There was no extra money to save anything. My only hope was our joint bank account. I thought that account had money saved for family emergencies. With trembling, shaking hands, I opened the banking app on my phone. I typed in the password with my heart beating so hard. When the account balance appeared on the screen, I felt my legs stop working. 0. The account showed exactly $0. This couldn't be real. There should have been thousands of dollars saved in that account. I kept refreshing the page over and over, hoping the computer made a mistake. But the number 0 just stared back at me. I opened the transaction history to see what happened. My eyes got huge with shock and horror. Over the past 6 months, Marcus had been slowly taking out large amounts of money. He transferred all of it to another bank account I didn't know existed. The last withdrawal happened just 3 days ago, taking out every penny that was left. Marcus had planned everything so carefully. He wasn't just leaving me. He had made sure I couldn't fight back by taking away all the money. I cried and cried in complete hopelessness. How could I hire a lawyer without even $1? I suddenly remembered my wedding jewelry. I ran to my bedroom and opened my jewelry box. It was completely empty. Only a few fake plastic rings remained inside. Marcus had stolen even the jewelry my grandmother gave me. In my desperate panic, I remembered an old friend who worked helping poor people with legal problems. I called her and told her everything that was happening. My friend felt very sorry for me, but couldn't do much. She could only give me one name. His name is Mr. Johnson, my friend said. He has a small office on the 3rd floor of an old building downtown. He's not an expensive, fancy lawyer, but he's honest, and he cares about people. Go visit him. Tell him your situation. Maybe he can help you. I had no other choice or option. With the little bit of cash I had left in my wallet, I took a taxi to the address my friend gave me. Mr. Johnson's office was exactly like my friend described. It was small and simple, located on the 3rd floor of an old building with paint peeling off the walls. Mr. Johnson was a kind-looking older man with gray hair and round glasses. He listened patiently to my whole story without interrupting me once. He only nodded his head sometimes and wrote notes on his paper. When I finished talking, Mr. Johnson let out a long, sad breath. "This is going to be a very difficult fight," he said in a gentle voice. "Your husband has prepared everything very carefully. He doesn't just want a divorce. He wants to destroy your entire life. I know, Mr. Johnson, but I don't care about the money or the house. I just want Emma. Please help me get my daughter back. I don't have money right now, but I promise I'll pay you. I'll pay you slowly, little by little. I'll do any work. Please," I begged desperately, my voice breaking. Mr. Johnson looked at me quietly for a moment. "Let's not worry about money right now. What's important is that we must act very quickly. This lawsuit has already been filed officially. We need to prepare our response immediately." Mr. Johnson asked me to wait in the small waiting room. He left and came back a few minutes later carrying a thick folder full of photocopied papers. These were copies of the lawsuit documents filed by Marcus's lawyer team. "Your husband's lawyer is Mr. Blackwood. He's known for being very smart and using dirty, unfair tricks to win. Let's see what evidence they claim to have," Mr. Johnson said seriously. I nodded, my heart pounding hard in my chest. Mr. Johnson opened the folder slowly. The first page showed photographs. I went into complete shock seeing pictures of the inside of our house. There were photos of dirty dishes piled up in the kitchen sink, photos of the living room messy with Emma's toys everywhere, and photos of unwashed clothes piled high in the laundry basket. "But this isn't fair at all," I protested loudly. "These photos were taken when I was very sick with the flu. I had a terrible fever for 4 whole days, and Marcus refused to help me at all. He took these photos on purpose to make me look bad." I'm afraid they manipulated these photos to make it look like you're a lazy person who doesn't clean the house, Mr. Johnson said with a bitter, sad expression on his face. We turned to look at the next pages. They were credit card bills and statements. I saw a long list of charges for expensive purses, diamond jewelry, and dinners at fancy restaurants. I had never bought any of these things. That's not me. I never purchased these items, I said in shock. Was there an extra credit card in your name? Mr. Johnson asked. Yes, there was. Marcus managed it and controlled it. He told me to use it if I ever needed anything, but he took it back often, saying his main card was full. Oh my goodness, he set you up and trapped you, I said, realizing the truth. I felt the whole world spinning around me. Every small act of kindness from Marcus was actually part of his evil, terrible plan. Then Mr. Johnson stopped at a thick document near the end of the folder. And this is the most damaging, harmful thing of all, Mr. Johnson said seriously. What is it? I asked, afraid to know. It's testimony from an expert witness, a child development specialist. Mr. Johnson handed me the report to read. I looked at it carefully. The report was written in cold, professional language. It said that the specialist had secretly watched how I acted with Emma. The conclusion said that I was emotionally unstable and couldn't meet Emma's needs properly. The report said I was a harmful mother to Emma's mental health. The expert recommended that Marcus should get full custody of Emma for her own safety and well-being. This makes absolutely no sense. When was this observation done? I never met any child specialist or expert. My voice shook violently. According to this report, the observations were done in public places, at the playground, at the shopping center, and when you picked Emma up from school, Mr. Johnson explained, staring at the paper. That's completely crazy. Emma always looked happy when she was with me. This is lying and making things up. Who is this so-called expert? Mr. Johnson flipped to the front cover of the report. Her name is Dr. Melissa Stone. Here are all her credentials and qualifications listed. She looks very professional and convincing on paper, he said. Do you know this woman, Dr. Stone? I shook my head, totally confused and bewildered. No, I've never seen or heard of her in my entire life. My tears began falling again. The reality of living under the same roof with the man who planned to destroy me was like living in a silent, terrible hell. Marcus hadn't moved out of the house. He simply moved his belongings into the guest bedroom. Our once warm, happy home now felt like a frozen battlefield with emotional bombs hidden everywhere. I had to live with my enemy, see him every single morning, and pretend everything was normal in front of Emma. Marcus played his strategy and plan perfectly when Emma was around. He acted like he was the world's best father. He started coming home from work earlier than normal, something he hadn't done in many months. He brought expensive gifts home almost every night. One evening, he came home carrying a huge box with a cartoon character on it. This is your brand new computer tablet, Emma, Marcus announced loudly, hugging our daughter. This one is way better than your old one. It has a bigger screen, a better camera, and Daddy installed lots of fun games just for you. Emma's eyes lit up with excitement. Wow, thank you so much, Daddy. I was folding laundry in the living room and could only swallow the lump in my throat. My heart ached with pain. I knew exactly what Marcus was doing. He was buying our daughter's love and loyalty. I couldn't compete with him. I didn't have even $1 to buy Emma anything at all. You see, Princess, Marcus said, looking at me with a mean smirk while turning on the new tablet. When you come live with Daddy later, you'll get new toys every single week. Not like some people who only know how to fold old clothes all day. I stopped moving my hands. I felt a painful knot forming in my chest. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him how cruel he was. But I couldn't do it in front of Emma. If I got angry and yelled, it would only prove Marcus's lie that I was emotionally unstable. So I kept folding the clothes in silence, keeping my head down, letting Marcus's poison fill the entire room. The terror and fear continued every single day. Marcus systematically worked to undermine and destroy my authority as Emma's mother. If I prepared dinner, Marcus would come into the kitchen, taste the food, and say in front of Emma, "Honey, This soup tastes too salty again. It's okay. Tomorrow we'll just order pizza instead. If I got ready to help Emma with her math homework, Marcus would interrupt us. Let me teach her instead. The way Mommy explains things is too confusing and complicated. You're going to get the answers wrong, princess. I felt myself becoming smaller and smaller, more and more invisible in my own home. I started doubting myself. Did I really cook badly? Was I really unable to teach my daughter simple math? Marcus played his role perfectly, making me seem like an incompetent, useless woman. Emma, trapped in the middle of everything, began showing signs of confusion. I could tell she loved me, but she also enjoyed all the special attention and new gifts from her father. Sometimes Emma would cling to me tightly, as if looking for protection and safety. But other times, she seemed uncomfortable and distant, especially after Marcus whispered something quietly in her ear. One night, I couldn't fall asleep. I walked silently down the hallway to Emma's bedroom to check on my daughter. I opened her door very slowly and quietly. Emma was sleeping deeply and peacefully. On her desk sat the brand new tablet Marcus had bought for her. But as I got closer to tuck Emma's blanket around her, I noticed something strange and unusual. Emma's small hand was clutching something tightly under her pillow. It wasn't her favorite stuffed bunny that she always slept with. I looked very carefully in the dim light. My heart skipped a beat. It was Emma's old phone, the cheap one with a cracked screen that I always told her not to use because the broken glass might cut her fingers. I frowned, feeling confused. Why did Emma still keep this broken phone? Why was she hiding it under her pillow when the brand new tablet sat right there on her desk? I didn't understand at all. I thought it was just a child's emotional attachment to an old toy. I had no idea that broken phone held a secret that would change absolutely everything. I quietly left Emma's room and returned to my own bed. My mind was even more confused and troubled than before. The big explosion happened a few days later. I was waiting at home for Emma to return from school. I had promised her I would bake her favorite chocolate chip cookies as a special treat. But 1 hour passed after school dismissal time, and Emma didn't come home. I called the school office. They told me Emma had been picked up early by Marcus. My heart sank with fear. Marcus hadn't told me anything about picking Emma up. I called Marcus on his phone many times, but he didn't answer any of my calls. 2 hours went by. Then 3 hours. I was almost going crazy with worry, walking back and forth in our living room with tears streaming down my face. It wasn't until 9 o'clock at night that I finally heard Marcus's car pulling into our driveway. Emma walked in laughing and carrying a large shopping bag full of things from the amusement park. Behind her, Marcus walked in calmly with an evil smirk on his face. Where have you been? Why did you take Emma without telling me anything? I was dying from worry. I shouted with a voice containing both tears and anger. Daddy took me to Funland Park, Mommy. It was so much fun. We rode the roller coaster 3 times, Emma exclaimed happily, not understanding the tension. Marcus looked at me with cold, empty eyes. So what? I'm her father. I have every right to take my own daughter wherever I want. Besides, you're not doing anything important at home anyway. But you should have at least called me and told me, I said, my voice breaking.
Why?
So you could ruin our special day with your drama and crying? It was at that exact moment that I smelled it. A woman's perfume, soft but unfamiliar, was all over Marcus's shirt collar. It wasn't my perfume, and it wasn't the cologne Marcus usually wore. Marcus followed the direction where my eyes were looking. He knew I had smelled the perfume. He didn't look away or seem embarrassed. Instead, he smiled cruelly. He waited until Emma ran upstairs to her room to put away her new toys. When we were alone, Marcus walked very close to me. His face was inches from mine, and his voice was a low, venomous hiss. Did you notice the smell? Did you really think I was going to live forever with a boring, useless woman like you? You are absolutely nothing compared to her. I took a step backward, gasping for air. There was another woman. All of this, all the accusations and the cruelty, was nothing more than his way to get rid of me so he could be with someone else. Who is she? I whispered, barely able to speak. None of your business. She's a successful, intelligent woman who knows how to make a man happy, unlike you, who knows nothing. That night, Emma came into my bedroom. Mommy, why are you crying? I quickly wiped my tears away with my sleeve. I'm fine, sweetheart. My head just hurts a little bit. Emma looked at me with an expression that was hard to read or understand. Are you really sick, Mommy? Daddy told me that you're sick, and that's why you're sad and angry all the time. Daddy said that if I go live with him later, you'll be able to rest and feel better. My heart completely shattered into pieces. Marcus had been slowly poisoning my little daughter's mind with lies. He had manipulated Emma into believing it would be an act of kindness and love to leave me because I was sick and needed rest. I pulled Emma into a tight hug. Emma, sweetheart, listen to me carefully. I'm not sick. I just love you so much. I promise I won't be sad anymore, okay? But the damage had already been done. I could see doubt and hesitation in my daughter's eyes when she looked at me. Marcus, who had been listening to our conversation from just outside the doorway in the darkness, just sneered quietly. He walked past me, who was still frozen in shock, and gave a little fake, sympathetic pat on my shoulder. Enjoy your time with her while it lasts, Marcus whispered mockingly into my ear. Soon she won't even want to call you Mommy anymore. The mediation meeting was a complete cruel joke. We sat in a small, stuffy room that smelled like old coffee. The court-appointed mediator was trying her best to find some middle ground between us. Mr. Johnson began speaking in a calm, professional voice. Marcus, my client doesn't want to ask for much at all. She only wants custody of Emma, or at least shared custody where they both get time. Regarding property and assets, we can negotiate and discuss everything. Before Mr. Johnson could even finish his sentence, Mr. Blackwood, Marcus's expensive lawyer in his fancy three-piece suit, interrupted him rudely and quickly. There is absolutely nothing to discuss or negotiate, Mr. Blackwood said harshly and coldly. He slammed down the thick file folder he was holding onto the table with a loud bang. Our client's position is crystal clear. This woman has failed completely in this marriage. It has been proven beyond doubt that she has failed in maintaining the home properly and raising the child adequately. Our client demands full, complete custody of Emma for the child's future well-being and safety. Marcus sat beside his lawyer with a blank, emotionless face, acting as if he were the poor victim in all of this. I only want what's best for my daughter, Marcus said with fake sadness in his tone. Keeping her away from her mother is what's best for her future. I felt my whole body trembling with anger and hurt. Mr. Blackwood actually chuckled and laughed. Look, if you keep insisting on fighting this, we will take everything to a full trial in court. And I absolutely assure you that all the evidence we have will completely humiliate you in public. The photographs, the credit card statements, the expert testimony from Dr. Stone, everything. You had better just sign this settlement agreement we prepared. Our client is being generous and benevolent by allowing you to leave the house without filing a countersuit against you. Leave my house with nothing and without Emma? Are you completely insane? I screamed at the top of my lungs. The mediator tried her best to intervene and calm things down, but Marcus and his lawyer were completely inflexible and unmovable. The mediation meeting broke down and collapsed entirely. Mr. Johnson gently patted me on the shoulder as we left the building. Stay strong. You must stay strong. The real fight is only beginning now. The first day of the actual trial came too quickly. I had a sick, nervous knot in my stomach since early morning. Mr. Johnson had reminded me many times to stay calm at all costs, no matter what happened. The courtroom was cold, intimidating, and scary. It had high wooden walls, heavy oak chairs, and the judge's gavel sitting on the desk looked so authoritative and powerful. Marcus was sitting on the opposite side of the room, looking very confident and relaxed with Mr. Blackwood beside him. The trial officially began. Mr. Blackwood went first. He spoke fluently and smoothly. His voice was loud, clear, and confident. He presented his version of all the facts and events. He showed the photographs of our messy house to everyone, accusing me of being a lazy, dirty housewife who didn't care. He showed the credit card statements to everyone, accusing me of being wasteful, irresponsible, and spending money like crazy. Your Honor, Mr. Blackwood said dramatically with grand hand gestures. While my hard-working client Marcus was out earning money to support his family, his wife sat at home wasting all of it and completely neglecting both her daughter and her household duties. I wanted to scream that it was all lies. I wanted to shout that Marcus had set me up, that he used the card himself, that he took the photos on purpose when I was sick in bed. But all I could do was clasp my hands tightly under the table, digging my nails into my palms. Mr. Johnson stopped me with a reassuring, calming look that said, "Not yet. Stay quiet." When it became Mr. Johnson's turn to speak, he tried his absolute best to refute and challenge the evidence. He carefully explained that the photographs were taken completely out of context and didn't show the full picture. He explained that the credit card statements had actually been used primarily by Marcus himself, not by me. But his arguments sounded weak compared to the physical evidence that Mr. Blackwood had presented. It was my word against photographs and official documents. The judge took notes on his pad, but his facial expression was completely unreadable. I couldn't tell what he was thinking. And then came the moment I had feared and dreaded the most. The plaintiff calls his expert witness to the stand. Mr. Blackwood announced officially. Dr. Melissa Stone, licensed child development specialist. The heavy courtroom door opened slowly. A woman walked in confidently. I held my breath and stopped breathing entirely. The woman looked beautiful and very elegant. She had her long hair pulled back in a neat, tight bun. She wore a professional navy blue blazer and walked with confident, clicking heels. She didn't look evil or mean at all from the outside. She looked completely convincing and trustworthy. As the woman raised her right hand and took her oath to tell the truth, I suddenly smelled something familiar. It was the same perfume, that exact same soft scent that had been all over Marcus's shirt that terrible night. My heart completely stopped beating. It was her. This was Marcus's mistress, his other woman. And she was pretending to be a professional child specialist to destroy me. Dr. Stone sat down in the witness box. She spoke calmly and clearly. Her word choice and diction were perfect. She used big psychological terms that sounded very impressive and professional to everyone listening. Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Stone began her testimony, answering Mr. Blackwood's first question. I conducted careful, detailed observations of Mrs. S.'s natural behavior with her daughter Emma over the past 4 months in various settings. And what exactly were your findings, Doctor? Mr. Blackwood asked, walking slowly in front of the jury box. Dr. Stone opened her professional leather notebook. My findings were extremely concerning and troubling. I found a clear, consistent pattern of behavior that shows emotional instability and poor parenting choices. There are obvious signs of significant emotional distress that affect her ability to parent effectively. Dr. Stone began listing her lies one by one, each one turning normal facts into deadly weapons against me. First observation, at a shopping mall food court, I observed the mother grab Emma's arm forcefully and speak to her in a loud, harsh voice, which caused Emma to cry in fear in front of many people. This clearly demonstrates a very low capacity for emotional regulation and anger management. I closed my eyes tight, feeling sick. I remembered that day so clearly. Emma had almost run into a busy road in the parking lot, and I had shouted stop and grabbed her back in absolute terror. I wasn't angry. I was scared to death that Emma would get hit by a car. But Dr. Stone had twisted it into verbal abuse and aggression. Second observation, Dr. Stone continued in her professional voice. At a public playground, the mother appeared to be absorbed and distracted by her mobile phone, completely ignoring Emma, who was playing alone on the equipment. When Emma fell off the swing and scraped her knee, the mother didn't notice immediately. When she finally did notice, her reaction was overly dramatic and tended toward hysteria, which further traumatized Emma about the minor fall instead of comforting her properly. Another complete lie. I remembered I had been quickly checking a text message from Emma's school about a permission slip. Emma had tripped on a swing, and I had run over immediately, hugged her, checked her knee, and consoled her gently. My reaction was that of any normal concerned mother, not a hysterical, crazy person. My professional conclusion, Dr. Stone said, staring directly at the judge with steady, unwavering eye contact, is that this mother does not have the stable emotional capacity required to raise a 7-year-old child in a healthy environment. There are very strong signs of what we call emotional projection, where the mother subconsciously projects her own personal unhappiness and problems onto the child. For Emma's long-term mental health and emotional development, I very strongly recommend full custody be granted to the father, Marcus, who has demonstrated himself to be the significantly more stable parental figure in this situation. The entire room fell into thick, heavy silence. Dr. Stone's testimony had been extremely powerful, very scientific-sounding, and absolutely destructive to my case. I cried silently in my seat. "It's all lies," I whispered desperately to Mr. Johnson sitting next to me. "Every single word is a complete lie. She's Marcus's mistress. That's her, the other woman. I know it."
"Calm down."
"You must stay calm right now," Mr. Johnson replied tensely, his jaw clenched tight. "Don't react emotionally. That's exactly what they want you to do." Mr. Johnson stood up slowly for his turn to cross-examine the witness. He tried his absolute best. "Dr. Stone, are you completely certain you can make such a serious, life-changing diagnosis based solely on distant observations without ever actually speaking to the mother or child?" Dr. Stone smiled slightly with confidence. "On the contrary, counselor, natural observations conducted without the subject's awareness are actually considered the most accurate and reliable form of behavioral assessment in my field. There is no manipulation or performance. It captures pure, real, authentic behavior." "You were paid quite handsomely by Mr. Marcus for this testimony, weren't you, doctor?" Mr. Johnson challenged. "I was paid fairly for my professional services and time, counselor. I was not paid for my conclusions or findings. My conclusions are completely objective and based entirely on real data I collected in the field through careful observation." Dr. Stone answered smoothly and cleverly. Mr. Johnson was stuck at a dead end. Dr. Stone had dodged his questions too skillfully. She had covered all the holes in her story perfectly. Every answer sounded reasonable and professional. The trial session ended for that day. I left the courtroom with my legs shaking so badly I could barely walk. I felt completely destroyed and defeated. I watched as Marcus smiled slightly and nodded subtly at Dr. Stone with a look of satisfaction and victory on his face. In the courthouse lobby, I leaned against the cold wall and sobbed uncontrollably. "We lost, Mr. Johnson. We've completely lost this case. They have everything, photos, documents, expert testimony. We have nothing." Mr. Johnson remained quiet and thoughtful for a long moment. Then he stared intensely at Marcus and Dr. Stone, who were walking together in the distance. They were discreetly separated, but not entirely far apart. They kept glancing at each other. "Not yet. We haven't lost yet," Mr. Johnson said in a low, determined voice, his eyes narrowed. "I know something is very wrong here. The way she looks at him when she thinks nobody is watching is definitely not the way a professional psychologist looks at a client. That's personal." Mr. Johnson turned to face me directly. "We absolutely have to find out who this woman really is and expose her." A few days before the next court hearing, Mr. Johnson called me urgently to come to his office. His face looked exhausted and tired. The stack of papers and files on his desk looked even thicker than before. "I tried my best to investigate and trace this woman's background and credentials," Mr. Johnson said bluntly, getting straight to the point. "The result is very different from what we hoped and expected." My heart started racing with anxiety. "What do you mean?" "Her credentials and qualifications are completely clean." "Too clean, actually," Mr. Johnson sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose in frustration. "She is properly registered with the State Psychological Association. She has a registered, legitimate practice clinic with an actual office. All her documentation, licenses, and certifications are perfect and in order. Either she is a real, licensed psychologist that Marcus hired and paid to lie for money, or Marcus somehow forged this entire professional identity extremely well and cleanly. The problem is, We cannot attack her in court by accusing her of being a fake psychologist. The judge would immediately dismiss our claim because all her papers check out officially. The small, brief hope I had been holding on to vanished instantly, like smoke. So, we can't prove she's lying or making things up? No, we simply cannot prove she isn't a real psychologist because technically she is one. The only possible way forward is to directly refute and challenge her testimony with your own version of events. And that means you absolutely have to testify in court yourself. Mr. Johnson looked at me very seriously and intently. You have to get on that witness stand and tell your complete side of the story. You need to explain the photos, explain the credit card charges, explain Marcus's behavior toward you, and most importantly, you absolutely must not get emotionally upset or angry. Mr. Blackwood will definitely try to provoke you on purpose. He will want you to appear hysterical in front of the judge, exactly like Dr. Stone described you in her testimony. I nodded silently, my throat too tight to speak. I'll do it. I'll try my absolute best. The day finally arrived. It was my turn to sit in the witness stand. After I was officially sworn in to tell the truth, Mr. Johnson began with gentle, easy questions first, carefully guiding me to tell the story of my life as a housewife and mother. I explained in a voice that I tried desperately to keep calm and steady. I spoke about how I had quit my job at Marcus's specific request to focus entirely on caring for Emma. I explained my daily routine from dawn until late at night, cooking, cleaning, helping with homework, driving to activities. About the photographs of the messy house, can you please explain the full context to the court? Mr. Johnson asked. Yes, I can. Those specific photos were taken by Marcus about 2 months ago during a week when I was severely sick with a terrible flu. I had a high fever of 103 degrees for 4 straight days. I could barely even get out of bed to use the bathroom. I asked Marcus repeatedly to please help with household tasks, but he said he was too busy with important work meetings. So the house got very messy during that week. I simply didn't have the physical energy to clean anything. I explained clearly. And regarding the credit card statements showing expensive purchases? It was an additional card issued in my name, but Marcus had physical possession of it most of the time. He frequently used it and told me his main card often reached its limit with business expenses. I trusted him completely because he was my husband. I never personally bought those luxury designer bags or that expensive jewelry. I didn't even know about those charges until I saw them in the lawsuit papers. I said everything with complete honesty. I could see some people in the courtroom gallery beginning to whisper to each other. Some looked at me with sympathy and understanding. But the judge remained totally silent and expressionless. His face gave away nothing about what he was thinking. Then it was Mr. Blackwood's turn to question me. The cunning, aggressive lawyer stood up confidently, smoothed his expensive silk tie, and walked directly toward the witness stand where I sat with a cold sneer on his face. So let me get this straight. He began in a sickeningly sweet, fake tone. You're trying to tell this court that your husband Marcus, who works extremely hard and brings money home to support the family, deliberately set you up on purpose? Is that your actual claim? I hesitated, my mouth suddenly dry. I didn't say it exactly like that. I just said what actually happened. But that's essentially what it sounds like, isn't it? The husband takes photos of the dirty house to frame you. The husband uses the credit card to make you look bad. Everything wrong is the husband's fault. It seems you're claiming you're not to blame for anything at all. Are you saying you're a perfect wife and mother? Of course not. I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But I'm not a failure either, I replied, my voice starting to shake. Not a failure? Mr. Blackwood scoffed loudly, with exaggerated disdain. You just admitted, under oath, that you were sick when those photos were taken. Do you have any medical records or doctor's notes proving you were gravely ill for 4 entire days as you claim? I stayed silent for a moment. I didn't go to see a doctor at the hospital. I just took over-the-counter medicine from the pharmacy because I thought I would recover on my own at home. So there is absolutely no proof whatsoever of your supposed illness. It's just your word against real, physical photographic evidence that was presented to this court. How very convenient and interesting. Mr. Blackwood attacked quickly and sharply. Mr. Blackwood moved smoothly to another topic. You claim your husband used the credit card that was in your name, but the card account was legally issued to you. Did you ever once inform the credit card bank that the card was being misused or used without your permission? No, I didn't call them. Did you ever confront or reprimand your husband about these purchases? No, I didn't. You said and did absolutely nothing to stop it. Doesn't this clearly prove you were completely negligent and financially irresponsible? Or does it actually mean you approved and knew about all the purchases all along? I trusted him. He was my husband. I thought married people trusted each other. My voice started rising with emotion. Blind, foolish trust, Mr. Blackwood snapped coldly. A trust that helped ruin the family finances, and now you conveniently blame your husband for everything. Very convenient indeed. I'm not blaming everything on him. I'm just telling the truth. Enough with your excuses. Mr. Blackwood raised his hand dismissively. He returned to his table and picked up a large printed photograph. He held it up high for the judge and everyone in the courtroom to see clearly. Your Honor, I request permission to present Exhibit P-17 to the court. My eyes went huge with horror and shock. It was a photograph of me in my bedroom from a few weeks before the divorce papers even arrived. My hair was completely messy and wild. I was crying hysterically and screaming with my mouth wide open. Can you please explain this photograph to the court? Mr. Blackwood asked with a triumphant, victorious tone in his voice. I trembled violently in my seat. Fresh tears began welling up in my eyes again. Isn't this absolute, undeniable proof of exactly what Dr. Stone testified about? Volatile emotions, hysteria, instability. Is this the face of a competent, capable mother? Is this the behavior of a stable person? You don't understand what happened. You're twisting everything. I wailed desperately. My tears were now pouring down my cheeks uncontrollably. That night, that specific night, Marcus had just come home from work. He called me a useless, worthless wife. He told me I was a burden and a weight on him. He insulted me cruelly. He said I didn't deserve to be Emma's mother. He deliberately provoked me until I broke down. He did it on purpose. So you openly admit it right here in court. Mr. Blackwood attacked instantly without giving me a single second to breathe. You admit you screamed hysterically. You admit you completely lost control of your emotions. You admit you are emotionally volatile and unstable, exactly as Dr. Stone described in her professional assessment. Isn't that correct?
No.
That's not what I meant. I shouted loudly. I actually stood up from my chair without meaning to. He set me up. He took that photo of me secretly after deliberately hurting me emotionally. He's a manipulative, evil man. Enough. Order in the court. The judge's gavel struck down hard and loud. Witness, you must calm down immediately. Sit back down in your seat right now. I sobbed uncontrollably. My shoulders shook violently. I collapsed back into my chair, completely destroyed and defeated. Everything was ruined. I had behaved exactly the way Marcus and Mr. Blackwood wanted and planned. I looked hysterical, unstable, and out of control. I looked exactly like the image of the failed, incompetent mother they had manufactured and created. I looked toward Marcus's side of the room. The man had his head bowed down, making a fake grimace of sadness and pain, as if he were deeply hurt by his unstable wife's behavior. Mr. Blackwood smiled with smug satisfaction. The judge slowly shook his head. His expression was painfully clear to read. He had already decided. He had already taken Marcus's side. That day's trial session ended with total, complete destruction for my side. Mr. Johnson tried his best to console and comfort me as we left the courthouse, but I felt completely numb inside. It's over. It's finished, I whispered weakly, barely able to speak. That night felt like the longest, most painful night of my entire life. The final sentencing hearing was scheduled for the very next day. I knew deep in my heart I was going to lose everything. I was going to lose Emma, my daughter, my only reason for living. I quietly went into Emma's bedroom. My daughter was already fast asleep, breathing softly. Marcus wasn't home. He was probably out celebrating his certain victory with Dr. Stone in advance. I sat carefully at the foot of Emma's bed, gently stroking my daughter's soft hair. My tears fell silently onto Emma's cheek, and she stirred just a little bit in her sleep. "Mommy?" Emma opened her eyes halfway, still mostly asleep. "Sure. Go back to sleep, my sweet girl," I whispered, my voice hoarse from crying all day. I hugged my daughter as tightly as I could. Maybe this would be the last hug I'd ever give her as a full-time mother. "I want you to know something very important," I whispered into Emma's ear. "No matter what happens tomorrow in court, Mommy loves you more than anything in the whole world. Always remember that. Forever and ever." Sensing her mother's deep sadness, Emma hugged me back tightly, wrapping her small arms around my neck. "I love you too, Mommy. So much." I slowly released the hug. It was at that exact moment I saw it again. The corner of Emma's old, cracked phone was sticking out slightly from under her pillow. Emma was clutching it tightly in her hand, even while sleeping. I couldn't understand why Emma was so attached to that broken, useless object, but that night I was far too destroyed emotionally to think any deeper about it. I simply kissed my daughter gently on her forehead and left her room to face what I knew would be the end of my entire world. The courtroom felt even colder than usual the next morning. The morning air was heavy, thick, and suffocating. I sat completely rigidly in my chair, my eyes puffy, red, and empty. I hadn't slept even 1 minute the entire night. Beside me, Mr. Johnson stared straight ahead with a grave, somber expression on his tired face. He knew he had done absolutely everything possible, but we both faced an impossible, giant wall we couldn't climb. The atmosphere on the opposite side of the courtroom was completely different. Marcus looked fresh, well-rested, and supremely confident in a brand-new expensive suit. He smiled occasionally and exchanged quiet, confident jokes with Mr. Blackwood. Victory was clearly within his grasp. In the courtroom gallery behind us, I could see Dr. Stone sitting there. The woman was seated elegantly in a cream-colored designer dress, looking directly at me with a barely visible, cruel smile on her face, the smile of someone who had already won. The judge entered through his private door. The entire room fell into instant, respectful silence. My heart was beating so violently hard it actually hurt my chest. In the matter of the dissolution of marriage, Registry Number 2024, FM 8847, Family Court Case Number FC 2024-1893, the judge began formally and officially. Today's purpose is the reading and delivery of the court's final verdict and judgment. But before that proceeding, I am allowing both parties to present their brief closing arguments and statements. Mr. Blackwood stood up first with confidence. He summarized his certain victory very skillfully and dramatically. "Your Honor," he said in a loud, clear, powerful voice. "Throughout this entire trial, we have witnessed absolutely irrefutable evidence presented to this court. We saw the clear photographic proof demonstrating the defendant's neglect of basic household responsibilities and tasks. We saw the undeniable financial proof showing her complete irresponsibility with money and credit. And most importantly and significantly, we heard the testimony of the highly respected, eminent child development specialist, Dr. Melissa Stone, who objectively and scientifically presented her professional findings regarding the defendant's emotional instability and unsuitability for parenting." Mr. Blackwood pointed dramatically at me with his finger. "We even witnessed firsthand the defendant's hysterical, out-of-control conduct right here in this very courtroom during the previous trial session, which completely supports and validates Dr. Stone's professional diagnosis. Everything is clearly recorded in the court transcripts." He turned with a flourish toward Marcus, gesturing like he was presenting a hero. "On the other hand, we have Mr. Marcus, a capable, responsible father who is financially successful and stable, and above all, emotionally stable and genuinely concerned for his daughter's future and well-being. Your Honor," Mr. Blackwood continued with fake emotion in his voice, "the choice before you here today is absolutely clear and obvious. This case is not about punishing a wife for being imperfect. It is about saving and protecting an innocent child from an unstable environment, For young Emma's best interest and future mental health, I respectfully but strongly beg you to grant full, complete custody to our client, Mr. Marcus, and approve his reasonable request for division of marital assets as outlined in our filing. Mr. Blackwood sat down with a smug, self-satisfied smile spreading across his face. Now it was Mr. Johnson's turn to speak. He stood up very slowly, his movements showing his exhaustion. He looked around the entire room, then directly at the judge. "Your Honor," Mr. Johnson began with a soft but firm, unwavering voice. "What we have all witnessed here in this courtroom is not actual proof or evidence. It is character assassination. It is a very carefully planned, well-executed defamation campaign. Photographs can lie, Your Honor. Anyone can take a photo of even the best, most organized person's home at exactly the wrong moment and make it look terrible. Financial statements can be easily manipulated, especially when one party has total, complete financial control and the absolute trust of the other party. And the so-called expert testimony," Mr. Johnson continued, his voice rising slightly with passion. "The testimony of an expert who only observed from a great distance and drew radical, life-changing conclusions from a few tiny fragments of incidents taken completely out of context. Is that really stronger and more valuable than the deep, genuine maternal love a mother has built and accumulated over 7 full years?" Mr. Johnson looked directly at Marcus with intensity. "Your Honor, we are not saving a girl here today. We are witnessing a selfish, greedy husband attempting to dispose of his wife, steal all the marital assets, and cruelly take away the only thing that is most precious and valuable to her, her beloved daughter. This woman is a good mother." Mr. Johnson's voice trembled slightly with raw emotion. "She is not perfect. No mother anywhere in the world is perfect. But she has dedicated and sacrificed her entire life to Emma. Please, I beg you, do not allow this carefully woven web of defamation to destroy that sacred bond between mother and child. I beg you to judge this case with your conscience and your heart." Mr. Johnson sat down heavily. The courtroom was filled with thick silence. His argument had been excellent, emotional, and heartfelt. But I knew deep down it still wasn't enough to win. Mr. Johnson's argument was based on belief, emotion, and faith. Mr. Blackwood's argument was based on cold, hard physical evidence and professional expert testimony. In the eyes of the law, the winner was already painfully obvious. The judge cleared his throat loudly, put on his reading glasses, and opened the extremely thick file folder in front of him on the bench. This was the moment. This was the end. Having thoroughly reviewed all documents submitted by both parties, having personally heard all witness testimonies, and having carefully considered all evidence presented to this court, the judge began in an expressionless, flat tone. My heart shrank and tightened. The court notes and acknowledges that the plaintiff, Mr. Marcus, has been largely successful in presenting significant, substantial evidence to support his claims. The judge continued reading from his notes. I lowered my head and closed my eyes tightly, preparing for the devastating blow. First, the visual photographic evidence clearly demonstrated a pattern of neglect by the defendant regarding household management and basic cleanliness standards. Second, the financial documentary evidence demonstrated a considerable and concerning spending imbalance on the credit card account held in the defendant's name. Every single sentence the judge spoke was like a sharp knife cutting deeper into my heart. And most damaging and concerning to this court, the judge said, his voice sounding final and definitive, is the professional testimony of the expert witness, Dr. Melissa Stone, regarding the defendant's current emotional state and parenting capabilities. This testimony was, unfortunately for the defendant, reinforced and validated by the defendant's own observable conduct during the previous trial session, providing this court with a very troubling and concerning image of the psychological environment in which the minor child is currently being raised. I began crying silently, tears streaming down my face. It was completely over. My life was finished. Marcus looked over at me, and a slight, cruel smile of victory appeared at the corner of his mouth. Dr. Stone, sitting behind him in the gallery, sat up straighter in her seat, ready to silently applaud and celebrate. Therefore, with all considerations mentioned above taken into account, and especially considering the paramount best interest and mental health of the minor child, Emma, the judge raised his wooden gavel slowly, preparing to strike it down. I closed my eyes completely, ready to hear the sentence that would destroy my entire life forever. The court hereby rules. Stop. Please stop. The voice was small and high-pitched, but it cut sharply through the thick silence of the courtroom like a knife. It was clear and desperate. Everyone in the entire room turned their heads in perfect unison toward the source of that unexpected voice. Standing in the slightly open doorway at the very back of the courtroom was Emma. She stood there alone, still wearing her school uniform with her backpack on. She had obviously snuck into the courthouse by herself. Marcus's face instantly transformed from smug arrogance to pure shock and terror. His skin turned white as paper. "Emma, what are you doing here? Get out of here right now!" Marcus shouted in sudden panic, his voice cracking. "Security guard, how did a child get in here?" "Emma, sit down right now, princess." Marcus tried again with a tense, strained voice, but Emma didn't move from her spot. She didn't obey. Instead, she walked slowly but determinedly into the courtroom. The sound of her small footsteps echoed loudly on the cold marble floor. She didn't look at me, her mother, who sat there astonished with my mouth hanging open in shock. She didn't look at her father, who was now furious and terrified. She looked only directly at the judge sitting high on his bench. The room, which had been completely silent while awaiting the final sentence, was now frozen in stunned disbelief. The gavel, which had been about to fall and end my life, stopped in midair. The judge's eyes went very wide, staring at the little girl in the doorway with surprise. I turned around in my chair, feeling my heart literally fall out of my chest. "Emma," I whispered in total disbelief. "What are you doing here, baby? What was my daughter doing in this terrible place? Who had brought her here? How did she even know where to come?" Marcus's reaction was the fastest and most extreme. His face, which a moment before had been full of arrogance and certain triumph, was now completely pale and bloodless. There was pure terror visible in his wide eyes. "Emma," he yelled at the top of his lungs. His voice rose without any disguise of calm left. "What are you doing here? This isn't a place for children. This isn't a playground. Security guard, why is a child allowed in this courtroom?" Emma physically shrank and flinched at her father's angry scream, but she didn't back down or run away. Instead, she walked even deeper into the room with determination. "Emma," Daddy said, "turn around right now and sit down quietly." Marcus shouted again desperately, now half standing from his chair. His lawyer, Mr. Blackwood, was also completely bewildered and confused. He stood up quickly and shouted at the judge, "Your Honor, this is a complete procedural outrage and violation. This trial is confidential and closed. A minor child absolutely should not be present here and definitely should not interrupt an official court proceeding. Order your security staff to immediately remove this child from the courtroom." I was still frozen in my seat, unable to move. I was confused and terrified. A part of my mind was completely shattering over the horrible fact that Emma was in this awful, scary place. The other part of my mind trembled with fear about what Emma might say. What was she going to tell the judge? Had Marcus succeeded in completely poisoning her mind against me? Would Emma stand there and tell the judge she preferred living with her father? That thought made me feel physically sick and nauseous. "Your Honor, with all due respect," Mr. Johnson's voice suddenly rang out clearly, stopping Mr. Blackwood's protests. "This child has obviously come here with a clear, specific purpose. This entire case is fundamentally about her future. We absolutely cannot and should not ignore her or send her away." The judge raised his hand high to command attention. His face looked very grave and serious. "Silence. Everyone be quiet right now." His voice echoed powerfully through the room. He stared hard at Marcus and Mr. Blackwood, immediately silencing all their loud protests. Then his gaze slowly turned to Emma, and his expression softened considerably. Emma approached slowly and carefully. Her small footsteps continued echoing loudly in the now silent marble courtroom. She stopped walking in the exact center of the room, right between the tables where the two lawyers sat. She looked up directly at the judge sitting on his high throne above her. "Your Honor, sir," Emma said with a trembling but surprisingly clear voice that carried to everyone in the room. "I'm very sorry for interrupting. I know I shouldn't be here." "It's okay, sweetheart," the judge said, his tone much more gentle and paternal now. "Why are you here? Who brought you to this courthouse?" "I came by myself, Your Honor. My auntie drove me here in her car, but I snuck inside alone. I heard my daddy saying that my mommy is a bad person." Marcus's eyes went enormous. "Emma, watch your words very carefully right now," he warned sharply. "Silence, Mr. Marcus," the judge shouted sternly. "Let the child speak without interruption." I covered my mouth with both hands. Fresh tears began flowing down my cheeks. Emma swallowed hard as if gathering all her courage. She looked at the judge again with her pure, clear, innocent eyes that showed complete sincerity. "My daddy told me my mommy is bad. My daddy told me my mommy gets very angry all the time. My daddy told me my mommy can't take good care of me anymore," Emma continued, her voice shaking slightly with emotion. I closed my eyes in pain. This was the end. Emma was going to repeat all of Marcus's poisonous lies. But then Emma said a sentence that made me open my eyes wide. "But can I please show you something important? Something my mommy doesn't know about." That phrase hung heavily in the air. Something my mommy doesn't know about. I frowned in confusion. What did she mean? What could she possibly have? Mr. Blackwood jumped up from his seat again. "Your Honor, this is completely absurd and ridiculous. A random recording from a child cannot possibly be used as legitimate evidence in a legal proceeding. This is an invasion of privacy. This was recorded without proper permission or consent. That recording proves all the lies from your so-called expert witness, Mr. Blackwood," Mr. Johnson retorted sharply and quickly. "This is extremely intriguing and relevant. Enough arguing right now." The judge banged his gavel hard on the wooden desk. His eyes, which had previously been gentle and paternal, now shone with intense interest. He sensed there was a major lie about to be exposed. "Court clerk, please help this child immediately. Connect that device to the court's display monitors right now."
"No."
"Absolutely not." Marcus screamed desperately and frantically. He gripped the edge of the table with both hands so hard his knuckles turned white. "I strongly object, Your Honor. This is clearly a setup. This is a trap. Your objection has been noted and recorded, Mr. Marcus. Now sit down in your seat immediately," the judge ordered firmly and authoritatively. The security guards in the room tensed up, ready to intervene if Marcus tried anything. A court clerk approached Emma quickly but gently and carefully took the old cracked phone from her small hands. He looked for a charging cable and the right adapter. A few long moments later, the large display monitor screens mounted on the courtroom walls went completely black and then suddenly showed Emma's phone home screen. Marcus covered his entire face with both hands. Dr. Stone, sitting behind him in the gallery, seemed to physically shake and tremble violently. Emma, now standing right next to the clerk, looked up at the big screen. She didn't look at me or at Marcus. She was completely focused on her important mission. This video file. Emma pointed with her small finger to a video icon in the phone's gallery. The clerk clicked on it with the computer mouse. A video thumbnail image appeared on the screen. "Go ahead, sweetheart. You may play the video," the judge said officially. Emma stretched out her small index finger. She pressed the play button on the screen. The video started playing. The large monitor screen flickered for a second. The camera shot was slightly shaky and tilted at an odd angle. The angle was very low, as if the video had been recorded from behind something, from a child's hiding spot. A quiet child's breathing sound could be heard. "That's our kitchen," I whispered in recognition, seeing the familiar refrigerator and the kitchen island in the background. The video seemed to have been recorded from behind the tall pantry cabinet where Emma sometimes hid during games. And then two adult figures entered the recorded frame. Marcus and Dr. Stone. But this wasn't Dr. Stone in her professional blazer, like she wore in court. This was Dr. Stone wearing casual, comfortable home clothes. Her long hair was down and loose. Marcus walked in first, laughing, and immediately wrapped his arms around Dr. Stone from behind, kissing her affectionately on her neck. Oh my God! A muffled gasp was heard throughout the entire courtroom in unison from multiple people. I completely froze with my breath caught in my throat. So the perfume, all my suspicions, everything had been absolutely true. The woman who gave completely false testimony to ruin me was the exact same woman who was sleeping with my husband in my own house, in my own kitchen. On the other side of the room, Mr. Blackwood stared at the monitor screen with his mouth hanging wide open in shock. He turned to look at Marcus with a look of absolute horror on his face, as if silently saying, "You never told me about any of this." In the gallery behind us, Dr. Stone lowered her head down, trying desperately to hide her face from everyone's stares. And then the voices of the two figures in the video were heard clearly and perfectly in the dead silence of the courtroom. Dr. Stone's voice, casual and relaxed. "Are you completely sure your plan is going to work? Your wife seems so clueless and stupid." Marcus's voice, laughing with absolute certainty and confidence. "She's incredibly stupid and completely submissive. She won't suspect a single thing. All the money from our joint account has already been transferred to your new bank account, baby. Every penny. Are you absolutely sure about that?" I felt my legs completely fail me underneath. My money, our joint savings account, had been secretly transferred to Dr. Stone's personal account. This was theft. This was planned robbery. "Oh, dear God," Mr. Johnson murmured beside me, his eyes fixed intensely on the screen. The video continued playing, oblivious to the growing chaos in the courtroom. Marcus sat down on our kitchen stool and pulled Dr. Stone onto his lap intimately. Marcus's voice. "Once the final verdict comes out tomorrow morning, I will officially get full custody of Emma. We can sell this horrible house immediately and move far away to Switzerland, far away from her. We'll start our new life together." Dr. Stone's voice, flirtatious and playful. "But what about Emma? That little girl seems extremely attached to her mother. Won't that be a problem for us?" This was the part that hurt me the absolute most. I held my breath completely, waiting desperately for Marcus's answer. Marcus's voice, completely disdainful and dismissive. "Oh, the kid is super easy to handle and manipulate. Just give her a shiny new toy or tablet, and she'll forget her mother existed within a week. You'll be her new mommy, a much smarter, more successful, and way sexier mother than her old one." Marcus kissed Dr. Stone passionately in the video, right there in my kitchen. "Enough. Turn it off right now." Marcus screamed in absolute rage and terror. He jumped violently from his chair, trying to run toward the clerk's table to physically stop the video from playing. "Officers, restrain that man immediately," the judge shouted with fury. The two uniformed security guards who had been standing at the door moved instantly with speed. They grabbed Marcus and overpowered him before he could advance even 3 steps, bending both his arms firmly behind his back. Marcus twisted and struggled like a trapped, desperate animal. "Let me go. Let go of me. It's not true. None of it is true. It's fake. It's been manipulated and edited." Marcus screamed desperately, his voice breaking. "Silence him if necessary," the judge ordered coldly. "Continue playing the video. I want to see it all the way to the very end." The video continued playing, completely oblivious to the chaos and commotion in the courtroom. Now it was Dr. Stone's turn to speak in the recording. Dr. Stone's voice, sounding worried. "I'm still a little bit concerned and nervous. What about my testimony as a psychologist? What if her lawyer successfully refutes it or finds holes in my observations?" Marcus's voice, laughing again with confidence. "I already prepared everything perfectly for that. I secretly recorded her last week when she cried hysterically after I deliberately provoked her. Remember, I'm going to provoke her again during the actual trial. I'll insult her and push her buttons until she completely explodes emotionally. She'll scream and cry right there in front of the judge and everyone." I sobbed out loud. I remembered my testimony clearly, the horrible photograph, my screams in court. He had set me up perfectly. It had all been a cruel trap. Marcus's voice continued on the video. Once she gets hysterical in court, your professional testimony will seem absolutely perfect and accurate. The judge will see for himself with his own eyes that she's an unstable, crazy woman. No one will believe anything she says. They'll all believe Dr. Stone, the credible professional expert. No doubt about it. The video finally showed Marcus and Dr. Stone raising wine glasses together, toasting and laughing happily about their evil plan. The video ended. The screen went completely black. The courtroom remained in thick, shocked silence for several long seconds. The only sounds heard were my quiet sobbing and Marcus's heavy, panting breath as he struggled under the guard's firm control. Everyone in the entire room, the judge, the court clerks, the people in the gallery, and even Mr. Blackwood himself, stared at the now black screen with absolute horror and disgust on their faces. They had just witnessed an extremely well-planned, evil conspiracy unfold before their eyes. It was fraud, perjury, money theft, court manipulation, and deliberate destruction of an innocent person. In the gallery, some people began turning their heads around, frantically looking for Dr. Stone. There she is. That's the woman. She's trying to leave, someone shouted and pointed. Dr. Stone realized she was completely exposed and caught. In total panic, she jumped up from her seat and ran desperately toward the back exit door. Emma, the little brave heroine who had been quietly watching the video she just played, slowly turned her head. She didn't look at Marcus, who was being held down by security guards. She looked only at me, her mother. Her pure, innocent eyes met mine, which were completely filled with tears of relief and love. The judge's face had turned bright red with rage and anger. He raised his wooden gavel high above his head. He didn't bring it down gently or quietly. He slammed it down as hard as he possibly could on the wooden desk with a thunderous bang. Silence. Everyone be silent right now. This court is back in session officially. The judge's voice boomed powerfully. Officers, close and lock all exit doors immediately. No one leaves this courtroom. Arrest that woman, the one who called herself Dr. Melissa Stone. Bring her back here immediately. Instantly, the courtroom fell into controlled but tense chaos. The loud bang of the furious judge's gavel was both a command and a release of all the tension that had frozen everyone. The two security guards who had been restraining Marcus now dragged him forcefully to a chair and pushed him down into it. Marcus wasn't screaming anymore. He was simply gasping for air like a dying fish. His eyes were wild and frantic, darting around. His expensive suit was now completely soaked through with nervous sweat. He knew without any doubt it was completely over for him. At the back door, another commotion was occurring. Dr. Stone, in her panic, couldn't get the heavy courtroom door to open. She pulled desperately on the handle and pushed with all her strength, but it wouldn't budge. A female security officer intercepted her quickly and professionally. Dr. Stone collapsed onto the floor in a heap. Her professional, confident mask had completely fallen away and shattered. She was no longer the calm, convincing psychologist. She was just a terrified, crying woman who had been caught. She looked exactly like the hysterical image she had falsely used to describe me. Karma had arrived too fast and with brutal cruelty. Bring her to the front right now, the judge ordered in a cold, unforgiving voice that sent chills. Two officers grabbed Dr. Stone under her arms and dragged her to the front of the courtroom. They sat her roughly in the witness stand, which now felt exactly like a defendant's bench in a criminal trial. Across the room, Marcus's lawyer, Mr. Blackwood, looked like he was melting. His face had gone completely pale white, and his expensive silk tie hung crooked and loose. He no longer dared to look at the judge at all. He just stared blankly at the stack of papers piled uselessly in front of him. His career and professional reputation had been destroyed in a single instant by a video from a child's broken phone. He knew he was implicated and involved. He might not have known about the affair, but he definitely knew about the manipulated photo evidence and the prepared false testimony designed to frame me. His law license was finished. I sat in my chair, still unable to move. I watched the scene unfolding before my eyes like it was a movie or a dream. My sobs had finally calmed down, replaced by a frozen shock and disbelief. Beside me, Mr. Johnson gave me a gentle, reassuring pat on my back, but his eyes stared fixedly at the judge, ready and waiting for the final blow against Marcus. Emma stood silently and calmly next to the court clerk. She was the only center of peace in the middle of the storm. She only looked at me, as if constantly making sure I was okay and safe. The judge took a long, deep breath and straightened his black robe. He looked first at Marcus, then at Dr. Stone, then finally at Mr. Blackwood. Mr. Marcus, the judge began with a quiet but absolutely terrifying voice. That video recording is the personal property of your daughter and was recorded inside your own home. Do you still want to stand here and insist that it is somehow manipulated or fake? Marcus slowly raised his head. His face looked completely empty and defeated. She set me up, he muttered weakly. It was one last pathetic, desperate attempt. That woman, Dr. Stone, she planned everything. She seduced me first. It was all her idea. Hearing this outrageous lie, Dr. Stone screamed immediately at the top of her lungs. Liar! You're a filthy liar. You told me to do all of it. You told me you would divorce her and marry me. You told me you would transfer all the money to my account so we could start a new life together. I did absolutely everything for you. Silence. Both of you, be quiet. The judge banged his gavel down hard again. You're both equally guilty and disgusting. Your confessions and arguments have already been recorded officially in the court record and transcript. The judge turned his fierce gaze to Dr. Stone. Miss Melissa Stone, you sat right here on this witness stand under a sacred oath before God and the law, and you gave completely false testimony. You deliberately used your professional credentials and reputation to destroy an innocent mother's life and to aid and assist in a serious crime. You not only violated your professional code of ethics, but you committed the crime of perjury before this court. That is a felony offense. The judge looked at Mr. Blackwood with disgust. And you, Mr. Blackwood, did you know, or should you have reasonably suspected, that the evidence you presented to this court, including this false expert testimony, was fraudulent and fabricated? You deliberately tried to provoke the witness during the last trial to make her fit your client's false narrative. You have completely disgraced this noble profession. I will personally have the State Bar Ethics Committee immediately revoke your law license permanently. Mr. Blackwood bowed his head low, unable to say a single word in his defense. Finally, the judge looked at Marcus. His gaze was so piercing and intense it seemed to physically hurt the man. Mr. Marcus, you entered this courtroom boldly demanding justice. You accused your wife of complete failure. You accuse her of emotional instability. You demanded to take her assets. And most heinous and evil of all, you demanded to separate and remove a young child from her loving mother. The judge lifted Marcus's entire lawsuit file folder and held it up high. Let us review your lawsuit claims one by one, shall we? First, the accusation that your wife failed and neglected the home. The judge's voice rose. Proven completely false by the video evidence. The video clearly demonstrated that you conspired with your mistress to deliberately defame and frame her. The judge threw one sheet of paper from the file dramatically onto the floor. Second, the accusation that your wife was financially irresponsible and wasteful. The judge continued. Proven completely false. The video contains your own confession that you personally stole money from your joint marital account and transferred it secretly to your mistress's personal bank account. This isn't just defamation, this is outright theft and embezzlement. He threw the second sheet onto the floor. Third, the accusation that your wife was emotionally unstable, backed by false expert testimony. The judge's voice shook with anger. Proven as a blatant, disgusting scheme and conspiracy. The video proves beyond any doubt that you conspired with your mistress to deliberately provoke your wife, secretly record her emotional breakdown, and use it to deceive and manipulate this court and this judge. He threw the third sheet down hard. Your entire lawsuit, the judge's voice rose to nearly a shout, is nothing but a complete pile of garbage based entirely on lies, greed, adultery, and manipulation. This court hereby dismisses entirely and completely the divorce petition filed by Mr. Marcus. The gavel struck down hard with a crack. But the judge wasn't finished at all. He looked directly at Mr. Johnson and me. However, this court will absolutely not stop there with just a dismissal. Based on this new, irrefutable video evidence, the court rules immediately to protect the victim in this case. 1. The judge raised his index finger. Full, complete, and sole custody of the minor child Emma is granted unconditionally and immediately to her biological mother, the defendant in this case, Mrs. Sarah. I gasped out loud. The tears now flowing down my face were tears of pure relief and overwhelming joy. I looked over at Emma, my precious daughter, who had saved me. 2. The judge continued firmly. Mr. Marcus's divorce petition has been dismissed entirely. However, this court strongly suggests and encourages that Mrs. Sarah file a countersuit immediately for divorce. Mrs. Sarah, do you wish to divorce your husband based on these grounds? Mr. Johnson leaned over and whispered to me quietly. I looked directly at Marcus, who sat defeated with his head hanging down in shame. With a trembling but firm, strong voice, I said, "Yes, Your Honor. I demand an immediate divorce from this man." "Excellent," the judge exclaimed with satisfaction. The court grants the divorce petition to Mrs. Sarah immediately on the clear grounds of adultery, fraud, and theft committed by the husband. Full sole custody is awarded to Mrs. Sarah. 3. The judge stood up from his chair. All assets, bank accounts, and property currently in the names of both Mr. Marcus and Miss Melissa Stone are hereby frozen immediately and effectively. The court orders a full, complete investigation to trace and recover all funds stolen from Mrs. Sarah's joint marital account. The family home currently occupied by both parties is hereby declared the total and complete property of Mrs. Sarah and her daughter Emma. Mr. Marcus, you have exactly 72 hours to remove your personal belongings and vacate the premises permanently. And 4. The judge's voice now resonated and echoed powerfully throughout the entire room. Based on the clear video evidence and the open confessions made right here in this courtroom, I hereby order the immediate arrest of both Mr. Marcus and Miss Melissa Stone for multiple serious criminal offenses, including but not limited to conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury before a court, domestic theft and embezzlement, witness tampering, and deliberate manipulation of evidence in a legal proceeding. Officers, take them both away immediately. The security guards moved quickly and efficiently. They handcuffed Marcus's hands behind his back with metal handcuffs. The man who had entered the courtroom that morning with such arrogance and confidence was now being led out in handcuffs with his head bowed low in shame. As he walked past me, he didn't dare look me in the eye even once. Dr. Stone was also handcuffed roughly. Her screams and protests had dried up completely, leaving only a puffy, tear-stained, messy face. She was dragged away by officers. Her career, her freedom, and her future were all gone in an instant. I sat in my chair, still trembling all over. Mr. Johnson smiled from ear to ear, his tired face showing pure joy. "We won. We actually won," he said with emotion. I couldn't speak at all. I simply stood up slowly on shaky legs and walked carefully toward the center of the room. Emma immediately ran toward me with her arms outstretched. I knelt down on the floor and hugged my daughter as tightly as I possibly could, as if hugging my savior, my hero, my angel. I cried on her small shoulders, not tears of sadness anymore, but tears of a mother who had been saved by her brave little heroine. The aftermath and consequences of that Judgment Day spread like wildfire through the community. The incredible story of the broken phone and the brave 7-year-old girl made headlines in newspapers everywhere. The story of the greedy, cheating husband, the fake expert witness, and the heroic young daughter dominated local news broadcasts for many weeks. The first few weeks after the trial were a complete blur for both Emma and me. Mr. Johnson took care of absolutely everything legal. By direct order of the judge, all of Marcus and Dr. Stone's assets and bank accounts were immediately frozen. The thorough investigation proved that Marcus had stolen and transferred nearly $500,000 to Dr. Stone's account over the past year. All that stolen money was seized by the court and returned directly to my new personal bank account. The big, cold house was now officially and legally mine. But I couldn't stay there anymore. There were too many bad memories. Too many shadows of Marcus and Dr. Stone in every single corner and room. With Mr. Johnson's legal consent and help, I sold the house. The money from the sale was more than enough to start a completely new life for Emma and me. The punishment for the villains was swift, severe, and satisfying. Given the overwhelming video evidence, Marcus was sentenced to 15 years in prison for fraud, embezzlement, perjury, and conspiracy. Dr. Stone, whose psychologist credentials turned out to be real but had been criminally misused, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Her license to practice psychology was permanently and immediately revoked. The corrupt lawyer, Mr. Blackwood, was immediately disbarred by the State Ethics Committee and faced additional criminal charges for his participation in the conspiracy to defraud the court. Karma had been paid back in full. 3 months after that dramatic Judgment Day, the happy sound of children's laughter echoed in a small, green neighborhood park. I sat on a park bench with the weight of worry completely gone from my face, smiling peacefully as I watched Emma playing on the swings. We had moved to a new neighborhood, not to a big, fancy house, but to a modest, cozy 3-bedroom apartment. It was filled with photographs of the two of us and smelled like fresh cookies I had baked that morning. I had started a small home catering business. My cooking skills, which Marcus had always cruelly belittled and insulted, were now praised and loved by many customers. Orders were coming in steadily. I was busy and tired every day, but I was genuinely happy. I was independent and free. "Mommy, look at this." Emma ran toward me, who was sitting on the bench. Her hands were dirty with soil. "The flowers we planted are going to bloom really soon." I smiled warmly, stroking Emma's short hair gently. Wow, my daughter is so good at planting things and taking care of them. We sat side by side for a while, just enjoying the warm afternoon sun on our faces. There was an important question I hadn't had the chance to ask calmly yet. "Princess," I began softly and gently. "Can I ask you something important?" "What is it, Mommy?" Emma looked at me with clear, innocent eyes. "The video on your old phone. Why did you record it in the first place?" Emma was quiet and thoughtful for a moment, as if carefully remembering. "Because I didn't like Miss Melissa at all." "Why didn't you like her, sweetheart?" "Miss Melissa pretended to be super nice to you. She smiled at you and talked sweetly when we saw her at the mall. But when you went to the bathroom, she told Daddy mean things. She said, 'Your wife takes too long doing everything.' And at the park too. She saw me fall down, but she told Daddy that you weren't watching me carefully." "But you were watching me, Mommy." "You were always watching me." I was amazed and touched. My little daughter had been such a sharp, careful observer. And that night, Emma continued seriously. "Daddy said he was working late at the office. But I heard his car come home. I wanted to show Daddy my new coloring picture. But when I went downstairs quietly, I saw Daddy come in with Miss Melissa. Daddy hugged her right away. I got really scared, so I hid behind the big plant pot." "So that's when you recorded everything there?" "Yes, Mommy. I used my old phone to record them. I remembered you told me once that if there are bad people doing bad things, there must be proof. And I had my old phone with me." My heart filled with warmth and pride. I had forgotten I had ever said that to her. "But Princess," I asked again. This was the most important question of all. "Why didn't you tell Mommy about the video? Why did you keep it a secret from me?" Emma looked down at her hands. Her voice became low and quiet. "Because Daddy said Mommy should know. I heard him in the video." I frowned. "Daddy told you that directly?" "Yes." "In the video, Daddy told Miss Melissa, 'My wife is so stupid. She won't know anything.' I thought it was a really big secret because Daddy said you should know. So I kept it hidden. I didn't want Daddy to get mad at me if you found out." It was the pure, simple logic of a child. She had been protecting her father's terrible crime without even realizing it, but she had kept it secret because her own father had said her mother shouldn't know. So, why did you finally decide to show it in court? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Because the judge was going to take me away from you, Mommy. Daddy kept saying you were bad. Miss Melissa also said you were bad in court. But that's not true at all. Mommy, you're not bad. You're the best mommy in the whole world. Her voice cracked. I don't want to be separated from you ever. So I had to show the judge that Daddy and Miss Melissa are the bad ones, not you. I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. I pulled Emma into the tightest hug possible. I cried tears of pure joy and gratitude. For all this time, I had suffered Marcus's horrible accusations that I was a failed mother. I had doubted myself. I had felt destroyed and worthless. But sitting right here before me was the strongest proof that I hadn't failed at all. I had raised an incredible daughter, a pure, observant girl who could tell truth from lies. A brave girl with the courage to act alone to protect her mother. A girl with a strong sense of justice and right versus wrong. Thank you, my princess, I whispered into Emma's hair. Thank you for saving me and believing in me. Emma hugged me back tightly. I love you, Mommy. I love you so much. I love you too, Emma. More than anything in the whole world. I released the hug and looked at my daughter's bright, smiling face. Finally, I understood everything clearly. I had never failed. I had just been raising a true heroine the whole time. And now both of us were completely free to start our new beginning together. Did you enjoy this story? Which city or country are you watching from? Let's meet in the comments section below. If you like this story, you can support Trending Revenge Stories by sending a super thanks so we can keep bringing you more amazing stories like this one. Thank you so much for your wonderful support. I'm really looking forward to reading your comments about this story. On the screen right now, you can see 2 brand new life stories that I highly recommend you watch next. There are so many more incredible stories on our channel. Don't forget to subscribe to Trending Revenge Stories so you never miss a new upload. See you in the next amazing life story. With love and respect from all of us.